Hi all. Today we will be revising the topics that we have studied yesterday. Five minutes revision plan. Transportation in human beings and plants. Blood. Components of blood were plasma that transports food, hormones, carbon dioxide and wastes. RBC contain hemoglobin and transport oxygen. WBCs fights infections and platelets help in blood clotting. Heart. The chambers of the heart were right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. Blood flow path. Body to right atrium to right ventricle, and then right ventricle to lungs, and from that oxygenated blood goes first to left atrium and then to left ventricle and then to body. Important points. Septum prevents mixing of blood. Septum prevents the mixing of blood. Left ventricle has the thickest wall, and valves prevent the backflow. Why left ventricle have the thickest wall? Because from the left ventricle the oxygenated blood goes to all parts of the body, from left ventricle to my head, my hands, my legs, etc. So blood has to travel a long distance. So left ventricle should contract in high pressure. So for that handling of pressure, left ventricle has the thickest wall. Double circulation. Blood passes through the heart twice in one complete cycle. Pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Advantage. No mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood occurs. Efficient oxygen supply. Blood vessels. Arteries carry blood away from heart. Thick and elastic walls and high pressure. Veins carry blood towards the heart. From the heart, the blood is gone through arteries and to the heart through veins. Valves are present. Low pressure. In arteries, the blood flow with high pressure, whereas in veins, the blood flow with low pressure. Capillaries. Capillaries are just one cell thick and they exchange of gases, nutrients and wastes. Blood pressure. Blood pressure is equal to force exerted by blood on walls, vessel walls. Normal BP is 120/80. 120 is systolic pressure and 80 is diastolic pressure. Instrument used to measure pressure is sphygmomanometer. High blood pressure means hypertension. Platelets function blood clotting, prevent excessive blood loss. Lymph colorless, no RBCs, contain lymphocytes. Functions transport absorbed fats, return excess tissue fluid to the blood, helps in body defense. Transportation plants, why needed? To transport water, minerals and food. Xylem function transport water and minerals, direction mainly upward. Water transport xylem to roots, xylem from stem to leaves. Transpiration. Loss of water vapor from aerial plants or aerial parts of the plants through stomata. Importance. Create transpiration pool, helps water move upward, cools the plant. Phloem. The function is transport food through sucrose. Direction upward and downward. Translocation. Transport of food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Important. Requires ATP or energy. Pulmonary artery is the artery through which deoxygenated blood goes to the lungs, and through pulmonary vein oxygenated blood enters the heart. Aorta is the largest artery. Vena cava brings blood to heart. RBC contains hemoglobin. It's a pigment that helps in oxygen transport. And platelets helps in clotting. Lymph helps in the fat transport. Xylem helps in the transport of water and minerals, and phloem transport the food. Transpiration helps in the loss of water vapor, and translocation movement of food. Which blood vessel carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart? Which blood vessel carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart? From the lungs to the heart. Pulmonary veins. The pulmonary veins carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart. Which blood component helps in blood clotting? Platelets. Platelets help in blood clotting and prevent excessive blood loss when a blood vessel is damaged. Which tissue transports water and minerals in plants? Water and minerals. Xylem. Xylem transport water and minerals from the roots to the leaves and the other parts of the plant. Xylem, water and phloem food. What is the normal blood pressure of a healthy adult? 120/80 millimeter of mercury. mmHg. Normal blood pressure of healthy adult is 120/80, 120 millimeter of mercury, that is systolic pressure, and 80 millimeter of mercury is diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure, we said a short code DR, that is diastolic pressure is resting pressure or relaxing pressure, and systolic pressure is contracting pressure, that is pressure in the arteries when the ventricles are contract, and pressure in the arteries when the ventricles are relaxed. Why are capillaries one cell thick? To allow easy exchange of gases, nutrients and wastes. Capillaries are one cell thick to allow easy exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients and wastes between blood and body cells. Capillaries are one cell thick to allow easy exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients and wastes between blood and body cells. Which of the following is the main function of lymph? Transport oxygen, transport absorbed fats from the intestine, pump blood, produce platelets. B. Transport absorbed fats from the intestine. Lymph transports absorbed fats from the small intestine to the bloodstream. This is one of the most important NCERT points. Which chamber of the heart has the thickest muscular wall? Thickest muscular wall for left ventricle. The left ventricle has the thickest muscular wall because it pumps blood to the entire body at a high pressure. Which of the following carries deoxygenated blood? Which of the following carries deoxygenated blood? Pulmonary vein, no. Aorta, no. Pulmonary artery, yes. Pulmonary artery. From the right ventricle to pulmonary artery to lungs. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Most arteries carry oxygenated blood, but pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood. Pulmonary veins carries oxygenated blood. What is the process by which water vapor is lost from the aerial parts of the plant? What is the transpiration by which, what is the process by which water vapor is lost from the aerial parts of the plant? Transpiration. Transpiration is the loss of water from the aerial parts of a plant, mainly through the stomata of leaves. Importance of transpiration. Creates transpiration pool, helps move water upward through xylem, cools the plant. Which tissue transport food from leaves to other parts of the plant? Phloem. You have revised blood components, RBC, WBC, platelets, Cbse, osmosis. 1 minute revision. Human transportation, RBC, oxygen transport, WBC, defense, platelets, clotting, plasma transport medium, heart, 4 chambers. Septum prevents mixing, left ventricle thickest wall, valves prevent backflow. And blood vessels, arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins towards the heart, and capillaries are those blood vessels which are 1 cell thick. Lymph are colorless, no RBCs are present. Transport fats, returns excess tissue fluid. And blood pressure, that is normal blood pressure is 120/80 millimeter of mercury, and instrument used for measuring blood pressure is manometer, and high blood pressure indicates hypertension. Plants. Xylem, water plus minerals, phloem food, osmosis, water enters root, transpiration, loss of water vapor, transpiration pull, lifts water, translocation helps in the movement of food, and phloem transport requires ATP. Which statement is correct? Xylem transport food and requires ATP. No, xylem transport water and minerals. Phloem transport food and requires ATP. Phloem transport water and minerals. No, xylem transport water and minerals. Transpiration pool helps in the upward movement of water through xylem. Yes, that is the correct answer. Whereas lymph contain RBC and transport oxygen. No, lymph does not contain RBC. Instead, lymph contains WBC. So C will be the right answer. Transpiration pool helps in the upward movement of water through xylem. Why the others are wrong? Xylem transport water and minerals, not food, and does not require ATP. Phloem transport food, not water and minerals. Lymph does not contain RBCs and does not transport oxygen. Transportation in human beings. Try to remember these 10 keywords: hemoglobin, platelets. Hemoglobin is the pigment, red colored pigment that is present in RBC that carries oxygen to different parts of the body. Hemoglobin contains iron. Platelets. Platelets are the substances that helps in blood clotting. It's a component of blood. Through platelets, excess blood loss from the body is prevented during an injury. Septum prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Double circulation contains contains two type of, means double circulation means blood enters the heart twice during one cycle. That is, it is a mixture of pulmonary and systemic circulation. Capillaries, that 1 cell thick that helps in the exchange of gases, food, etc. Lymph, at the ending of the arteries there are blood capillaries. The network of that blood capillaries helps in the exchange of WBC, and some more substances were there. Which were there? Yes, and helps in that. Hypertension, high blood pressure is called hypertension. Xylem helps in the transport of water in the plant, in a tree. Transpiration, the loss of water from the aerial parts of a plant through stomata. Phloem helps in the transport of food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Components of blood, plasma and RBC. Why are ventricles thicker than atria? Atria only push blood into the ventricles, so less force is needed, but ventricles pump blood out of the heart, so more force is needed. Ventricles have much thicker walls. What is double circulation? Blood passes through the heart twice during one complete circulation. Deoxygenated blood path is body to vena cava to right atrium to right ventricle to pulmonary artery to lungs, and oxygenated blood from lungs to pulmonary vein to left atrium to left ventricle to aorta to body. This is called double circulation because blood goes through the heart two times in one cycle. Why is double circulation important? The right side and left side of the heart remain separate. Advantage: prevents mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, ensures efficient oxygen supply to body cells, helps animals like birds and mammals maintain a constant body temperature. Heads of different animals. Fish, two-chambered heart, blood passes through the heart only once in one cycle, called single circulation. Amphibians and many reptiles are three-chambered heart. Some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood occurs. Birds and mammals are four-chambered heart, complete separation of blood occurs. Most efficient circulation. Blood pressure. Blood pressure is the force exerted by blood on the walls of blood vessels. Important facts: blood pressure is higher in arteries, lower in veins. Systolic and diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure, pressure in arteries when the ventricles contract. Diastolic pressure, pressure in arteries when ventricles relax. Normal blood pressure is 120/80, 120 mm mercury, and systolic pressure 80 mm of mercury is diastolic pressure. Written as 120/80 mm mercury. Instrument used to measure blood pressure is sigmoid. It consists of inflatable cut-off pressure gauge stethoscope. Hypertension. High blood pressure. Hypertension means abnormally high blood pressure. Narrowing constriction of arteries and increased resistance to blood flow. Quick revision: fishes have two chambers. Their role is single circulation. Whereas in amphibians and reptiles there are three chambers, partial mixing occurs. Whereas in birds and mammals, four chambers and no mixing. Double circulation, blood passes through the heart twice. Normal BP is 120/80 mm mercury. Instrument used to measure blood pressure is sigmoid. High blood pressure means hypertension. Arteries have higher pressure than veins. Which component of blood is mainly responsible for fighting infections? WBC. Blood flows through a network of tubes called blood vessels. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to different parts of the body. Blood in arteries is under high pressure. Therefore, arteries have thick walls, strong muscular walls, elastic walls. Example: aorta is the largest artery. Veins carry blood towards the heart from different body organs. Blood pressure is low in veins. Therefore, veins have thinner valves to prevent backflow. Function of valves. Valves ensure that blood flows only in one direction. Capillaries. These are the smallest blood vessels. Features: walls are only one cell thick, form a network around the body tissues. Function is exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients and wastes. Takes place through capillary walls. Flow of blood, heart to arteries to capillaries to veins to heart. Maintained by platelets. Suppose you get injured, if blood keeps leaking out, blood volume decreases, blood pressure falls, efficiency of circulation decreases. To prevent this, platelets circulate in blood, helps in blood clotting, seal the damaged blood vessel, stop excessive bleeding. Importance: without platelets, even small injuries could cause dangerous blood loss. Lymph, tissue fluid. Lymph is another fluid involved in transportation. Formation of lymph. Some plasma, proteins and blood cells escape through capillary walls into spaces between the cells. This tissue is called lymph or tissue fluid. Characteristics: colorless, similar to plasma, contains less protein than blood plasma. What are the functions of lymph? They transport fat, that is both digested fats and absorbed fats, and second drainage function, that is it transport or collects excess fluid from tissues and returns to the blood, thereby prevents swelling. Transportation in plants. Plants also need a transport system to transport water, minerals, and food produced during photosynthesis. Returns excess fluid to blood. Difference between blood and lymph. Blood is red in color, lymph colorless. Blood contains RBCs, lymph contains no RBCs. Blood contains more proteins, lymph contains less proteins. Blood contains flows in arteries, veins and capillaries. Lymph flows in lymph vessels. Blood carries oxygen, lymph does not significantly carry oxygen. Blood transport medium of body. Lymph assists blood circulation. Next is transportation in plants. Plants also need a transportation system just like humans need blood circulation. Which tissue transports food? Phloem. Phloem transports sugars, mainly sucrose, amino acids, and other organic substances. How does phloem transport food? Unlike xylem, phloem transport requires energy, that is ATP. Ten questions. What is the primary function of xylem? Transport water and minerals. Xylem transport water and minerals from the roots to the stem, leaves, and other parts of the plant. Water moves through xylem mainly from leaves to roots, flowers to stem, roots to leaves, fruits to roots, roots to leaves. Okay. Water and minerals are transported in xylem mainly in the upward direction, that is roots to stem to leaves. Which of the following creates the main pulling force for water movement in xylem? Main pulling force for water movement in xylem, transpirational pull. Transpiration pull is the main force responsible for pulling water upward through xylem, especially in tall trees. Root pressure helps a little. Transpiration pull is the major force. Water enters the root cells from the soil by osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water from a region of higher water concentration to a region of lower water concentration through a selectively permeable membrane. In plants, soil has more water, root cells have less water. Therefore, water enters root cells by osmosis. Which tissue is responsible for transporting water and minerals in plants? Xylem. Xylem is the vascular tissue responsible for transporting water and dissolved minerals from the roots to the rest of the plant. Xylem is equal to water, phloem helps in the transport of food. Root pressure alone cannot transport water to the top of very tall trees because root pressure is a weak force. Xylem is absent in tall trees. No, leaves do not require water. No, minerals block the xylem. No, root pressure is a weak force, but transpiration pull is comparatively higher force or strong force. The root pressure is a weak force, so it cannot by itself push water all the way to the top of very tall trees. That's why transpiration pull becomes the main force for water transport. Which of the following structures mainly conducts water in xylem? Which of the following structures mainly conducts water in xylem? Xylem components were xylem vessels and xylem tracheids. Vessels and tracheids C. Vessels, long tube-like structure for water transport. Tracheids, elongated cells that also conduct water. If transpiration suddenly stops in a plant, what will be most affected? Upward movement of water through xylem will be affected. If transpiration stops, the transpiration pull disappears, so the upward movement of water through xylem is greatly affected. Chain of events: transpiration decreases, transpiration pull decreases, water transport in xylem decreases, less water reaches leaves. Which statement about xylem is correct? Xylem transport food from leaves to roots. Xylem transport requires ATP. Xylem transports water and minerals mainly in one direction. Xylem is made only of living cells. Xylem transport water and minerals mainly in one direction. Xylem carries water and minerals from roots to stems to leaves. Movement is mainly upward or unidirectional. And the correct answer for food is transported through phloem. Xylem transport does not require ATP. Xylem is made mainly of dead cells, that is vessels and tracheids. Which of the following correctly explains the movement of water in plants? Water enters root by osmosis and moves upward mainly due to transpirational pull. Water enters root by diffusion and moves upward by ATP. Water enters leaves first and then reaches roots through xylem. Water is transported through phloem by translocation. So which of the following correctly explains the movement of water in plants? Water enters roots by osmosis and moves upward due to transpiration pull. Water enters root cells from the soil by osmosis. Water then enters the xylem. Transpiration pull generated by evaporation of water from leaves pulls the water column upward. Function: transport water and minerals. Direction mainly upward. Roots to stems to leaves. Conducting elements: vessels and tracheids. Water entry into roots through osmosis. Forces responsible are root pressure minor, transpiration pull major. Important facts: xylem transport does not require ATP. Xylem is mainly made of dead cells. Transpiration is the loss of water vapor through stomata. Transpiration pull is the main force in tall trees. One final super tough MCQ. Xylem transport food and requires ATP. No, water enters roots by osmosis and transpiration pull move it upward through xylem. Yes. Last minute exam questions. Try answering this without looking at notes. Why are xylem vessels long and continuous? For the long transportation of water. Why is transpiration called a pull? Why can't root pressure alone lift water in tall trees? What is the difference between xylem and phloem? Xylem transport water and minerals. Phloem transport food. Why does water enter root cell by osmosis? The concentration of water in root is low as compared to the concentration of water in soil. So diffusion is the process of movement of water from higher concentration to lower concentration, and as a result water flows from soil to root. Why can root pressure alone lift the water in tall trees? Because root pressure is a minor force or weak force, and transpiration pull is a strong force. Now 10 questions about phloem. What is the primary function of phloem? Transport food prepared during photosynthesis. Yes. Phloem transport food, mainly sucrose prepared in the leaves, to other parts of the plant. Phloem is food and xylem is water. The transport of food through phloem is called translocation. Translocation is the transport of soluble products of photosynthesis or food from leaves to other parts of the plant through phloem. Which of the following substances is mainly transported by phloem? Water, minerals, oxygen, sucrose. Unlike xylem transport, phloem transport phloem transport requires ATP. Phloem can transport food both upward and downward. Phloem can transport food both in upward and downward depending on where the food is needed. From leaves to roots, leaves to fruits, stored food in roots, developing buds. Stored food in food roots moves to developing buds during spring season. So phloem transport is bidirectional. Which of the following structures belong to phloem? Sieve tubes, vessels and tracheids in xylem. A growing fruit receives food from the leaves through phloem. What happens when sucrose is actively loaded into the phloem? Minerals enters the phloem. No, water enters the phloem by osmosis. Sucrose is actively loaded into the phloem using ATP. This increases the sugar concentration inside the phloem. Water moves into the phloem from nearby xylem by osmosis. This increased pressure pushes food to different parts of the plant. Okay. So our revision section is completed. We'll see you at night with a new topic, that is excretion.